On camera, but not in camera. What? Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the February 3rd, 2026 council meeting. This meeting is live streamed and recorded and available on the internet by visiting the Town of Parry Sound website at www.parrysound.ca. I'd like to acknowledge at this time that we're on the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe people under the Robinson-Huron Treaty of 1850 and the waterways traveled by the Métis of this region. And is there any prioritization of the agenda? Councillor Keith?
Yes, I realize this is a shorter agenda, but could we bring up 10.1.1, please?
10.1.1?
Yes, bylaw.
Any other adjustments to the agenda? No. Mover and seconder for the adoption of the agenda then. Councillor Borneman and Councillor McCann. The white marker. You hold that? Okay. Tell you about it after. Seconded by Councillor McCann. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Borneman. Yeah. Okay, and that the council agenda for February 3rd be approved as amended. All in favor? That's carried. Any disclosure of pecuniary interest to the general nature thereof? Nope. Okay. Mover and seconder for the minutes. Councillor McDonald, Councillor Keith, that the minutes of the regular council meeting held January 20th, 2026 be approved as circulated. Any discussion or comments on those minutes? Nope. All in favor then? And that's carried. Questions of staff? Councillor Keith?
Yes, thank you. Mr. Cairns, I've noticed it seems to be there's little more snow on the road more recently. And are we cutting down on the amount of salt that we're trying to put on the road this year rather than getting right down to the pavement?
Excuse me, through your worship. So we have been attempting over the last few years to reduce the amount of salt that we've been applying. So yes, the other part of that is it's been extremely cold. And had we not been making that attempt, we wouldn't have been able to apply the salt as it was. So typically below -12, -13, it's not very effective. I think, we had some internal discussions lately about driving on snowpack for the last few weeks. And, I think for the most part, everybody's done a really good job of that. We've been applying sand, obviously, and little more than normal years or past years. So now having said that, there are lots of advantages. It's easier on vehicles, it's easier on equipment, it's easier on the roads, and roughly speaking, salt is well over $100 a ton and sand is about $20 a ton. So there are some fiscal advantages too.
Councillor McCann?
Hi, this is for Mr. Kearns, and follow up then to Councillor Keith's question. I know that snow removal is prioritized in terms of where it's needed the most in the busiest streets. The problem I have, and I'm sure everyone else does, is that intersections, snowbanks are so terribly high that you find yourself pulling out into the intersection before you can see that there's no one coming. Is it possible, and I know the logistics are complicated enough, but there are some banks around town, and I'm thinking of one just coming down McFarland Street and turning on to Emily Street. There is a humongous snowbank there that you've got to get out into the laneway before you see anyone coming down the hill. So is it possible to prioritize removing some of these dangerous snowbanks? To me, that would seem just as important and as much a safety factor as removing the snowbanks.
Through your worship. Um, so you mentioned the logistics, and that is a big one because trying to pick off the odd intersection snowbank becomes very difficult to mobilize the vehicles, the staff, the equipment, to move around town kind of in an ad hoc fashion. So we have increased the amount of snow removal crews that are on, and I think they've accelerated the amount of snow that's being removed around town. So hopefully, if staff are able to identify some of those areas, they can be concentrated on perhaps in the evening or off the regular. Some of the routes are busier during the day, obviously. So they do try and prioritize that way as well so that they can maximize the amount of snow that's being removed. When we have a crew on, there's a number of pieces of equipment that are involved as well as a number of trucks. So trying to do intersections becomes very difficult to mobilize all of that equipment safely around the traffic that's traveling as well. But we'll certainly take a look at some of those intersections and see if we can get them cleaned up in the evenings.
Thank you.
I mean, I do know our crew's working, Adams Brothers are working, Weeks are working, and there's a lot of trucks out there and equipment trying to move snow, given the amount that we've had. So I do have to commend them all for the effort they're putting into it because they're pretty much running 24 hours. So it is winter. And a good one.
That,
Councilman-
just to add to that, they're doing Belvedere this evening, so that's all right.
Ah, okay. Any further questions? No? We don't have any correspondence or deputations tonight, so let's into reports and we'll start with Councillor Keith.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, fellow councillors, staff and the public. I only have a couple of meetings to report. Some meetings due to weather were canceled. I did attend the Committee of Adjustment meeting, and there was a zoning variance on Joseph Street, which the consent was agreed to in reference to a housing unit with various types of needs. We're hopefully going to be met with this development as well as a restaurant and 3 basically quick serve restaurants. In addition, I attended the 128th Chamber of Commerce annual meeting. And certainly there was what was really pertinent, I think, although there was a lot of things pertinent. There's been an increase of members. There's 200 and I believe 90 members now. There was also swearing in of a new director, Ruby Skoko, and was sworn in. Certainly, the executive director, Councillor Chris McDonald, did a fine job relating the positive accomplishments in 2025. And there was approximately 35 people that attended that sunny, cold morning. So it just showed that people in the Parry Sound area have a lot of spunk and get out there, whether it's cold or not. That's my report. Thank you.
Yep. Councillor Ashford.
Similar story to Councillor Keith. And just to add to the Committee of Adjustment, it was nice to see a developer who was quite concerned with everybody around him to make sure that he had good relationships with people and that there wasn't nothing he was going to do was going to adversely affect the people around him, whether or not, he had a right to, or all those kind of things. He was concerned about being a good community member. So it was nice to hear that. And just in addition, not a meeting, but I just wanted to compliment our recreation staff at the BOCC. And my 4-year-old has signed up for her first skating lessons this year and is learning to do all the things. And she's been coming home regularly since she started complaining. that these people strap these horrible things to her feet that prevent her from moving around properly, you know, and and she's just kind of laying on the ice, and people are helping her, and you know, and they got not only the staff there that make it all happen, but the volunteer community and all the people. It's just an amazing amount of people. So she came back today and she reported that she is a perfect skater. So she she was with the support of all those people and our staff and all these opportunities we have in the community. It was just kind of nice to hear that she, in the few months that she's been complaining about these skates and how terrible all this activity is, they've got her to the point now where she feels she's achieved perfection in the skating field. So I just wanted to compliment everybody on that. It's a great spot to live.
Well, her great grandmother would have been very proud to hear that as well. Counselor Bileski.
Thank you, your worship. Being I wasn't here for the last one, I will report on, I attended from the 17th to the 20th, I attended the Roma conference in Toronto and had the opportunity to attend some workshops, and would take too long to go through everything we learned on them. But one of them was, I attended one to do with lawn care, Lake Belvedere. And it's a company that runs them. And the average age of people that go in there are 82. And the average age of people being in there is 18 months. So I'm a little bit nervous right now.
You're not in there.
No. But anyway, it was a very good presentation. There was a lot of good presentations. On the 28th, I attended, speaking of Belvedere, I attended Belvedere, and there was an election of officers for the next year. And Councillor Borneman is representing us well again as vice president. And then on the 30th, last Friday, we had a Park to Park Trail Association meeting. There was some administration changes in it, and we had a quick meeting for that. Seguin is going to help quite a bit on it. They're going to supply staff to kind of look after it a wee bit. We had to change some sign-in authority on checks and stuff like that. And that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Counselor McCann.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, fellow councilors, staff, and public. On Thursday, the 22nd at 7 in the evening, the West Parry Sound the West Parry Sound District Museum monthly board meeting was held virtually. I was not in attendance. I was stuck in a snowstorm out on Highway 400. Coming back from Aurelia, but I did telephone in my regrets. Some notes from the meeting. Business included the reviewing and accepting financial reports. The museum has been using QuickBooks, as a number of businesses do here and around the world. But QuickBooks now has made it mandatory that if you're going to continue with them, you got to do it online. So we just went through that transformation, and reports look a little different, but hopefully in the long run things will work out. In business arising from that meeting, some of our policies were looked at, and it was deemed that no changes were necessary at that point in time. One of them was with regard to health and safety, and another one was a key holder policy. They still won't give me a key to the building. I don't know. It's just, but anyhow.
I'll be afraid you'll play with the trains.
Yeah, of course, yeah. So anyhow, there are some exhibits coming up that you'll want to watch for as well. The gift shop is being revamped, and no new inventory has arrived just yet, but the stuff that's there right now is on sale. So you might want to jump in there and see if you got any bargains that'd like to clear it out and restock with new material, new product for the summer. And there are 3 exhibitions I can tell you about that are coming up. One is Built for the Bay, Scoots and Everyday Ingenuity. Another one is, I'm sorry. The Busty Bales exhibition. I have no idea what that is. And the Ranger Cabin exhibition. So that was that. And then the museum kept everyone kind of busy this past month. Then on the last day of January, Saturday, there was the West Parry Sound District Museum Strategic Planning Workshop. This group worked with results from a recent survey that was conducted, and would just like to say that if you watch for more good news in that front in the coming months. Museum actually is very progressive right now, kind of like the library. They've got all kinds of things underway under projects and initiatives. We're rebranding. We've got our strategic planning in place. We're discussing terms of a new lease with the town, and just trying to basically day to day get things up and running for the summer season and the gift shop. So there's lots happening. And as always, check out the website, the museumontowerhill.com, for more information. And that is my report.
Thank you. Counselor Borneman.
Thank you, your worship. Good evening, everyone. On Councillor Bolesky's mentioned the meeting at Belvedere on January 28th. I thank him for mentioning me, but the real work is being done by our re-elected chair, Pam Wing, and our treasurer, Don Carmichael. They're carrying the load, and it's a big load right now with the building going on, transitioning staff, searching new administrators. It's an ongoing battle there. So I want to thank them in particular for the work that they're undertaking. And it would be extremely difficult, I think, for anybody to jump in and replace them right now. So also in the meeting, we heard from folks at Community Support Services. They got a smaller than anticipated increase through the province, even though we're in a period where programming is expanding. They're studying how to make transportation in the area more efficient. They recognize that the need extends beyond the town itself, but they're basically operating at capacity, and to expand the service is going to, in all likelihood, require paid drivers. Construction is ongoing. In addition to the new build, flooring is being replaced in various wings of the home in order to meet compliance regulations with the ministry. And as of last week, at least, the ministry had their folks in undertaking an inspection at Belvedere to make sure that we're doing things in accordance with the rules. I want to congratulate the newest inductees to the Bobby Orr Hall of Fame, Sue Whitley, Carol Henry, Ryan Knox, and Chris Stanley. Mr. Stanley and Mr. Knox are young men I formerly coached in a lifetime ago, so I'm especially elated to see them being honored. The induction ceremony is scheduled for June 13th, and I'm sure tickets will be on sale at the box office at the Stocky Center in the very near future. I want to remind everyone that there's a list of events on the town website for Snowfest between February 13th and the 15th. You can check them out and attend. I don't think there's any question that Mother Nature is in favor of winter events this year, so it should be a great weekend. And also remind everyone that the Mayor's Family Day Skate and Barbecue is scheduled for the 16th. And finally, I'll say, this has been a little bit of a public service announcement tonight. Finally, I'll say, you know, as the sign says, I think we all take pride and want to wish the very best of luck to Megan Oldham, Parry Sound's Olympian, and hopefully she improves upon her fourth place finish from the last year. So go, Megan. Have fun. Enjoy the moment. Thank you.
Yes. Counselor McDonald.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, fellow councilors, staff and public. I'll kind of follow Councilor Borneman's lead and do a couple public announcements as well. that the Olympics, they do start on February 6th. And Parry Sound's Megan Oldham will be competing in the women's slopestyle qualifications beginning on February 7th, and the finals will be on February 10th. And then her big air competition runs February 14th to the 17th. There are signs made up if people want them for their businesses or for their lawns. Howard Oldham has just announced that he's going to provide the signs free to anyone that wants them. They can be picked up at Jennifer Begg and Alves shop at 48 Bow Street, February 4th from 9:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. or February 5th, 9:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. So we hope to see a lot of those signs around town over the coming days. We've had some good feedback. The snowmobilers are happy. They're coming through town. The first time that the trail, I think, has been open from north to south all the way through town in years, in many years. So it's great to see, and a lot of snow this winter has certainly helped. And again, Snowfest, sponsored by the town of Parry Sound, will be running February 13th to 16th, filled with family fun, shows, and community spirit. They're doing the hot chocolate challenge for any business that would like to participate in that. Full details on parrysound.ca/snowfest. That's the end of my report.
Okay, thank you. Council staff and public, January 22nd, as Councilor Keith mentioned, about the Chamber of Commerce 128th AGM. I was able to attend for a little bit, perform the swearing in for the new member that was there. I would say a very well attended event showing the interest in the organization and you know, the efforts put on by their executive director. It's also Councillor McDonald, but certainly well done. And unfortunately, I couldn't stay as I had to get back to work, and I'm sure that any business person there would understand that. So part of life. January 24th, I attended the fundraiser at Boston Pizza to raise money for the artificial ice that Sean has arranged. Dave Burrows and I were on hand. Dave Burrows is a retired NHLer, and about $2,700 was raised that evening to help support the artificial ice. January 28th was a public health meeting, and the public health budget was passed for 2026. So hopefully Ms. Phillips will be getting that information very soon so we can compile it with our budget. January 29th was an AMO Committee of the Whole meeting. January 30th, I had an OSUM caucus meeting at 8:30 in the morning, and then an AMO board meeting after that. And that was all in Toronto. As was mentioned, February 13th to the 16th, Snowfest, and on the 16th, Family Day, the barbecue and skating and games for kids or whatever upstairs is on from 11 to 2, I believe. So now, again, as everyone's mentioned, best luck to Megan at her event in the Olympics. I don't know how much anyone can really see on TV, but there is a banner hanging up here behind my chair. I'd like to thank Howard Oldham for having the banners prepared, the signs, that sort of thing. I did gather up 2 flags. One was for Megan, and the other one is for Mark Idison. And so the signs were out in the community for people to sign. I want to thank the flags were out in the community for people to sign. I want to thank Ray Pavlov for getting them out in different places or whatever as well to make sure that there were lots of signatures on the flags. But I gave Howard Oldham his flag today, I believe it was. No, it was yesterday. And with a bunch of town pins and Canadian pins. And I handed in the flag for Mark Idison to his parents last night, along with pins and banners. So those flags are going off to Italy to be given to the Olympians. So wish them all the best and really hope that they can bring home gold. It'd be absolutely fantastic. Anyway, that's my report. And on with the agenda. So we have moved up 10-1-1. Moved by Counselor McCann, second by Counselor McDonald, that bylaw number 2026-75-73 being a bylaw to set tax ratios for municipal purposes for the year 2026 be considered as read a first time. All in favor? Carried. All members in favor of having the second and third readings? Carried. Moved by Counselor McDonald, second by Counselor McCann, that the bylaw above mentioned be considered as read a second and third time passed, signed and sealed. Does any staff member want to have any comments on this at all? I know it's the same thing pretty much every year, but there are some tweaking and adjustments to different rates because of provincial mandate, correct? This way, I appreciate Council Keith bringing it forward because this way you're not there to the very end. Your button. Button. There you go. There you go. You're
Okay.
live.
There, it's been a while. Yeah, like your worship, you said this is an annual thing. What we do with these ratios is that we do it to manage the distribution of the property tax burden among different property tax classes. The ratios are set annually, with guidelines set by the province that allows the municipalities to determine how much property tax each class pays per dollar amount assessed of the assessed value of the properties. So, and like my report says, the ratios have been the same since pretty much 1998, because if we move those ratios down towards what the residential ratio is, it puts more of a burden on the residents than the other. It's just the property tax gets shifted. Now with reassessment, whenever that comes along, these ratios may get changed because of the way the different shifts in the assessments go. So that is to be determined, because I just had a talk with MPAC again today, and as you guys probably know, that nothing's been said by the Ministry of Finance yet. They're very hush hush, and so it's a sit and wait. You know, my guess, and it's just a guess, is it may be 2028 that we get it back on the same cycle as it would have been if they didn't stop this reassessment. So that's just a guess. So, and from my Omtra contacts as well. So yeah, that's what we have the ratios for.
Thank you. Yeah. Anything else? Okay, all in favor? Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Beaumont. Okay, let's carry, we'll sign the rest of that later. Moved by Councillor McDonald, second by Councillor Borneman, that council approve the 2025 fourth quarter progress report on the town's key performance objectives set out in Schedule A. Mr. Harris, do you want to begin with this?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, this, the report before you just speaks to progress made on the various council's various strategic initiatives. What I find interesting when we look at what's happened over the last quarter or over the last year is attachment 2, which are the statistics, development statistics in particular. We track the number of building permits issued for residential development. And if there was one building permit issued for a 10 unit building, we would class that as 10, not 1. There's only one permit issued, but it represents 10 new residential units. So that's the way these numbers are counted. And so for all of 2025, there were building permits issued for a total of 35 residential units, which is pretty good for the size of our community. Last year, the end of 2024, it had only been 13. It was low.
And prior to that, in 2023, it was 43. So tracking, good relative to previous years. And of course, everybody knows that the housing units are are needed. And this is a variety of housing units. The other thing that's noteworthy is the value of building permits issued. So all of last 2025, almost $42 million in building permits issued is the value of construction. That compares to 84 million at the end of 24. Now, in 2024, we had the school permit taken out as well as the new rec complex. Those are two very large permits. When you remove them, 2025 is higher than 2024 once you exclude those two major projects, and higher than 2023 was only 22 million and 2022 was 14 million. So there's a lot of construction activity taking place in the town. This is excluding the two major projects in 2024. This is largely private sector investment in the community, so that's good. And it was 42 million this year, which is significantly higher than prior years. And we're answer any questions on other aspects of the report if council has any.
Councillor Ashford?
I was very happy to see the new tracking of the roads and sidewalks prepared for 2025. I don't know if I missed this in the last one, but could anyone talk, I think it's new for this one. Could anyone talk a little bit about it? Because it does seem like we are down a little from the previous year, but there's a lot of feet, I think recorded meters, but there's quite a bit of a new road and new sidewalk that's gone down over the last year.
Through the mayor, I'll make a comment and then ask Mr. Kearns if he wants to add to it. Yes, this is something new that we added in 2025 because we tend to get a lot of questions around sidewalks, and it's like everything. There's lots of places to spend money. You try to prioritize as best you can. But the message that we wanted to convey to the public is we're not doing nothing. We may not have done your sidewalk or your street, but there is a lot of money being spent on infrastructure across the town. It's sidewalks, maybe roads as well. It's a bit of a challenge tracking just when the work is done and when we can report it. And I'll maybe ask Mr. Kearns if he wants to add to that explanation.
Sure. Thank you. Through your worship. I think that as Mr. Harris alluded to, there's a bit of a challenge there, and this refers to repair. There are a number of large capital projects on the go that are treated as projects. So splitting out those individual components between sidewalks and road repair, I think it's not necessarily indicative of the amount of work that's going on because some of those projects will be coming to fruition in 2026. So I think you'll see an increase in those numbers related to those projects as well.
Any other questions? Councillor Keith?
Yes, thank you. I have a few questions in going over the KPOs. And I'm sure some can easily be answered. I just didn't find it clear enough for me. On what would be page 12, it's number 19 under economic development. I noticed it said about examining when the Parry Sound Bay and beyond, when that website is created, I'm not clear on how will somebody be able to find that website. It's under economic development.
Through the mayor to Councillor Keith. When someone Googles investing in Parry Sound, probably tourism and other keywords, that will highlight this new website that the town is taking over. Also, there will be links. We have two partner municipalities, the Archipelago and McDougall. And if somebody goes on their websites and is interested in economic development, and they click on that on their website, it'll link them to this website that we're creating at the town.
Thank you. Now, under the further clarification in that same area, I noticed under the economic development that goes with that tourism strategy, which I believe includes the match strategy. Is there a target date when it's hoped that this will come up with a date for examining where we go from there?
Through the mayor, I believe we're beginning to, the RFPs have been issued and proposals received. And we're meeting with the representatives from McDougall and the Archipelago, our partners, to evaluate the proposals next week. So I could see us issuing this in the next month, 2 at the most, and then have the strategy be developed over the summer. So I'd say certainly this year and perhaps the fall.
Thank you. Another question along that line before I move to another area, and that would be under section 90, or sorry, section 57. There, it indicated that there would be further investigation in reference to economic development for this committee that would investigate other businesses and other stops to happen. When they're doing that investigation, are they doing that in relationship to that MOU that was signed, or would they be examining when they're looking at their tourism strategy, even an area, a municipality that wasn't a present member?
Could you give me the number? I don't seem to.
Yes, number 57, please. There was just the category of action items, and there was no comment afterwards, as I recall.
I can't seem to put my finger on it, but if your question is, we're trying to take a regional focus on economic development, and so how do we do that when we only have 2 of the
Yes.
6 other municipalities as partner? We want to, the face and how we approach people wanting to invest, move here, relocate businesses, work. We want to give a very professional approach. So even though if we get contacted and it's not a partner municipality, we will know who the contact person is in those other municipalities. It may very well be their CAO if they don't have an economic development officer. So we'll just make that connection and refer them to the contact person. If it's a contact for someone that is from the Archipelago, McDougall, or the town, or the industrial park, or the airport, we'll follow that through taking the lead, but working with the staff in each of those municipalities, or the Carling who manages the industrial park, and work with them to see if we can find a fit.
Thank you. I have another question, but it is under economic development, but I think it would be for Mr. Cairns. But it was line 71, and it spoke about the pilot project or pilot program rollout, where it had indicated that the plan for the rollout had started in Beaver Meadow area, but it was moving to the Greenwood subdivision area in the springtime. And I'm wondering what sort of buy-in residents have for that.
Through your worship. So that has just commenced in terms of letters being prepared to send out to the residents in that area. So we don't have those metrics back yet, but in moving forward, we will be moving out there and we'll be able to report that back.
Thank you. I'm just about finished, but again, under what would be quality of life, and that's line 86. And that is in reference to, it says it's parks and recreation. and I noticed it's the tree canopy policy. And it speaks about in 2019, evidently, there was a tree canopy policy in respect to planning, but now it seems to be that it's Parks and Recreation are the lead on this. And what I don't understand, because there is a recommendation of a tree specialist to make further recommendations, I'm still wondering if before that happens, if there's going to be some sort of meeting, perhaps between parks and planning and examining, for example, the downtown, the boulevards, the vacant areas where there may be trees needing to be planted, the housing area, the waterfront, the cemeteries. I just got looking at that and I said to myself, a tree canopy planning policy seems to me needs to include all of these areas. So I'm not quite clear on how one is going to determine a tree specialist if there hasn't been input in all of these areas before one goes about examining, hiring a tree specialist as a consultant in the capital budget. Can somebody explain that better for me, please?
Through your worship, I think the thought process was that the specialist would be able to provide input on all of those areas and be able to work with all the various departments, including planning, Parks and Recreation, as well as Public Works, though, to make sure that we are cognizant of the amount of in-ground infrastructure we have, where the appropriate places to plant will be. So I don't think it'll be anything in isolation. Parks and Rec probably was the focus because of the amount of trees located in our parks and our green spaces. I think that was a thought process when we talked about this initially. But hiring a specialist will certainly have a better idea of, first of all, what types of trees are appropriate for the various locations. They'll have better understanding the resiliency of the trees, depending on if they are boulevard trees, or they're going to be tolerant of the traffic, the sand, the salt, the plowing, the snow removal, and those kinds of things. So that was, I think, our process, or our thought process was that person will have the specialized skill set to be able to provide that advice to the various departments.
So just for clarification, that tree specialist is going to be somebody who's aware of planning, housing, vacant land, the whole big picture, cemeteries, the whole bit. It's not just like boulevards or downtown, because it seems to me there's all different needs. So, in figuring out that tree canopy specialist, how one even goes about that, are they, I guess, further in having a large repertoire of information, are they somebody that usually is under a planning area if one was looking for a tree canopy specialist, or I'm just not clear? Thanks.
Through your worship, not necessarily. I don't think it would be more of an arborist type person that would have that knowledge of forester, an arborist, an urban forester, not necessarily a planning specialist. And it's certainly easy enough, and we would tap into the skill sets in planning to outline where are those green spaces, where are those open spaces, the mapping. We all work together really well as departments. So I don't think anything would be left out in isolation. We can map the waterfront areas. We can map, the cemeteries are a little bit different because we have to assess the health of the trees that exist already and look at replacements within those areas as well. So I think that's where we're thinking more of an arborist. An urban forester would have that ability to be able to look at all of those areas and come back with the information to the various departments to look at what makes sense in terms of a canopy policy for the town that would be all encompassing. But it's not going to be the same policy, I would imagine, for cemeteries as it is for waterfront, as it is for boulevards, but a policy can have sections that deal with all those areas for council's consideration at the end of the day.
I guess in my last question, that's where I'm going as to whether or not it's going to be a big breakdown, because it just seems to me from all the area that's going to be needed to be covered, that this is going to take some time for that consultant to look at all of this. Like, this isn't going to be a 2 or 3 week thing and we've got it all together. This is going to take some serious planning. And also, I would think, for example, with whatever he recommends, say for waterfront, that in turn would go back to that committee just to see their support also. Would that not be fair to say for input?
Through your worship, I think it's certainly reasonable for input.
Yeah.
I would also suggest that perhaps our partners at the Georgian Bay Biosphere will
Yes.
be able to help us with a lot of this as well and give us some guidance that makes sense for the different types and that it'll definitely come back to council and for input in terms of what's the desired outcome of the canopy policy. So is it cooling the downtown? Is it temperature regulation? Is it providing shade? Is it, strictly aesthetics? So there's a lot of different, and certainly it's not going to be a quick process.
Thank you.
Councillor McCann and then Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm not sure whether this would be for Mr. Harris or Mr. Kearns. Just going back to the conversation on the number of permits that have been issued in the value, over the years when we campaigned to take a seat at the table here, we talk about growth and growing the tax base, and it would seem to me that with all of the permits that are being released, that we're growing our tax base. But as we do that, we probably also increase our cost of sales or service, I suppose, because to service these new properties, there's more infrastructure, there's more maintenance, et cetera, et cetera. So I guess my question is, as we promise to grow the tax base and to make a more like a richer and more affluent society, are we creating I don't use the word profit, but a margin that where we can see the growth, where there's some uh, actual gains between what it's costing us to provide services and the tax base revenue that's coming in. Is that growing or is it sustaining? And see what I'm getting at?
Through the mayor, that's a really good question, a real interesting question. I think the answer is yes, we're better off, and I'll provide some comments. Part of growth is we want growth to pay for growth. The province has development charges legislation, and so this council in 2023 introduced development charges. So to support growth, rather than go to the taxpayers, we're going to the development community that's doing the build and development charges, and we also have fees and charges. So that I think that is good. That was endorsed by the development community, and as we can see, there's still lots happening. So those development charges haven't adversely affected the amount of growth. The other aspect in the town, most of our development is infill. So we're not adding a lot of new streets to accommodate the growth. There are vacant parcels of land throughout the town, and those parcels of land are being developed, but there's typically a street in front of them. If the internal streets, and we don't have a lot of larger subdivisions, but those internal streets are built and paid for by the developer, not the town. So we've got, because of its infill development, the amount of additional infrastructure the town needs is limited. We've got in the development charge forecast, we didn't increase the number of parks, for example. The town has fairly robust number of parks across the community. We didn't need more. So we're getting more development, which means more assessment growth without having to build new parks to maintain, without having to build new roads that need to be plowed and maintained. So the infrastructure to a large extent is here, and now we're maximizing the benefit of that infrastructure. And that's true pretty much across the services. We have a little bit of money in for fire, I believe, and we've included the new portion of the new rec center in development charges. But for the most part, we have the infrastructure already in place, with the exception of wastewater. The councils knows that we've been applying for grants and quite successfully, because our infrastructure on the wastewater side needs significant investment. That's where we are. The town is putting monies into that infrastructure to accommodate the growth. But I think all in all, it's a payoff. And particularly we've gotten, in the last year and a half, probably $20 million in grants for wastewater. And that's at 73% funding. So we're doing the work, but with 73% funding on the table, it's as inexpensive as it's going to get.
Yeah.
And so I think we're doing well in the grants. It's a lot of infill development, and it's high density. If we were building single family homes, then there's garbage collection. There's more work to service individual single family homes. But as council's aware, over the years, a lot of our development is higher density. You know, whether it's 12 units, 10 units, Lighthouse, which is 40 units, they're easier to service because of the density. So we're doing density development and we're doing infill, which keeps the town's infrastructure cost down. So we're ahead of the game.
Well, those are good points. Thank you very much.
Councillor McDonald?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. One thing I noticed, and there's a lot of great items in the KPOs, but there isn't anything that centers around parking. And I'm just wondering if that could be included in maybe as a line item or some sort of line for the KPOs to maybe undertake a more comprehensive parking study, inventory, and
We're doing through the mayor. There will be a request coming forward as part of the 2026 operating budget for funds for a parking study. So that's well in the thought process. The KPOs they can be added, but this being February of an election year, I would suggest the value. We only report quarterly, so there's not a lot of need to change this document at this point in time. But I think with the new council, one of our priorities would be to revisit the strategic plan and the things that we want to focus on over the next 4 years. And that would be the time hopefully we got the parking study done and it's fine, but there may be some implementation that is a priority. So parking and other things would be part of that discussion early in 2027 with a new council.
okay, fair enough.
Councillor Bornman?
Before we leave parking, in my view, it's most critical during the summer months. Will the RFP and study be underway in time to undertake that work through the summer months of 2026? Because that's rarely where the rubber hits the road here.
Through the mayor, I have, you had asked me the question earlier, and Mr. Rand, our manager of planning, I've had a little conversation. I sent him back a follow-up email, which I haven't got an answer to yet, but to issue and then receive responses back to RFPs typically takes 6 weeks. That's a month and a half. If the budget's approved in April, May and June, we should be, without too much difficulty, issuing awarding the RFP in June or July, and they would get going. So they'd be in the community during the summer months. And so
I had sent that to Mr. Harris earlier today, and my next line was, if this budget and RFP can't be completed in a timely fashion to allow for that to happen, I wouldn't be opposed to bringing this forward. I think it's key to the downtown in particular, and I wouldn't be opposed to bringing forward that item for pre-budget approval if need be. But we're a ways away from that point tonight.
through the mayor, what I could add is, I think staff, Dave and Jeremy, are well aware that the parking study is important. There's nothing preventing them from, putting their mind to what the RFP will look like, what it should, so that you don't have to start creating it the day the budget's approved. So that could shorten that turnaround time. But appreciate the opportunity to bring it forward if need be.
Anything else? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Borneman, second by Councillor McDonald, whereas the provincial government has terminated the automated speed enforcement ASE program. Now therefore, Mayor McGarvey and Councillor Keith are hereby authorized and directed to meet with the local OPP detachment to review options for reducing speed in school and community safety zones. Councillor Bileski, you brought this forward.
Thank you, Your Worship. I asked that this be brought forward because by canceling the automatic speed enforcement, it hasn't stopped the speeding. Obviously, it's not going to stop the speeding. And I think that as Councillor Keith is on the committee for the OPP and the mayor represents the town, that they meet with the commander up there at the OPP detachment, and sit down and have a talk with them and think outside the box of different things that can be done to reduce the speeding in the area. And Your Worship come up with one suggestion that possibly a stop sign in that area. Now, I know the three-way stops are not, staff says they don't change traffic patterns very much, but they do help a little bit. But that's just one thing you could look at. I would think it could go way outside the box. There could be, and I believe the province is willing to pay for some of it now. I think when they canceled that, they said there'd be some provincial funding for better signage, large signs, huge signs, possibly even a banner across the road. That's getting a little bit out, but wave, anything at all. And I think the commander down at the OPP detachment could come up with some good suggestions that the town could do. Possibly the town could suggest some of the things that the OPP could do to help us. It would also work in other areas as well, maybe possibly, but this one by the school is a larger. But I just like to see them sit down, talk to the detachment, come up with things, as I say, outside the box, and see what we can do to stop the speeding in that area. Thank you.
Any questions, comments? Councillor McCann?
Well, Councillor Bileski and myself are on either side of the fence when it comes to whether or not the speed cameras were the answer, but the speed cameras, it's off the table. And so I support this motion to move forward and try to, as he said, think outside the box and try to imagine what really works. We sit up here and we talk and try to encourage safe driving, stop at red lights, stop for school buses, slow down, don't speed. And you get the feeling that you're teaching and preaching to the choir because it just doesn't seem to make any sense. People who are going to run red lights are going to do it. And there's a lot of good drivers on the road, and there's some who have the sense of entitlement that the roads were designed specifically for their own use. The mention, I think we all talked about this one time, was a set of traffic lights, not just a 3 or 4 way stop, but traffic lights. I think it was at May Street and Joseph. It was that what was talked about, and that might be something that could be focused on in your talks with the OPP. And I know Mr. Kearns has often said we don't like to use these kind of things to calm traffic, but I don't see where we have any other choice in situations, especially on Joseph Street. Just wondering what your thoughts are.
Well, we'll have to have the discussion. I mean, that's what we'll have to do. I am going to make a comment though. It's not just Joseph Street. You got River Street as well. I mean, if I'll use myself as an example. If I don't back into my driveway, okay, it is really difficult to get out. because you're trying to back out, especially in the winter time. You have a tough time seeing both sides or whatever because of snow banks and everything else, whatever. People don't slow down, you know? I mean, you try, I mean, one way to do it is to back into your driveway. And, you know, it slows some of them down, but they feel because that's a bloody straight stretch that they can go as fast as they want. Well, no, they're not supposed to. And they should be a little more courteous to people that actually live on streets like that, that understand. Church Street must be a nightmare, you know, at times trying to get into your driveway, that sort of thing. So, but anyway, I digress. Counselor Keith.
I was just going to say, I'm open for discussion. I think that's a good start. And that may lead to us developing a new strategy. And those things can be all positive. And I just say also, like in anything with new ideas, sometimes there is a price, whether it's financial or whatever, that comes into the picture. So I think that whenever you ask for something, it's like a ripple effect. There, you know, there will be some sort of impact, and that can be a very positive. But I think it's an opportunity for us to have a discussion and go from there.
Yep. Counselor Borneman.
I agree with what Councillor Keith just said. Lest we forget Bow Street, there's been a series of accidents out there and they tend to be fairly serious because the speeds are
Higher.
higher than in other areas of town. Like it's community wide.
Yep.
So let's look at the whole thing.
Anything further? All in favor? And that's carried. Not opposed. Counselor Borneman?
Yep.
What? Oh, yeah, right. Built-in potholes. It's direction. I need a mover and seconder. Counselor Borneman and Counselor McCann. Staff be directed to send the letter regarding municipal support for school bus safety and stop arm camera systems to the Premier and the Minister of Transportation, with copies to the Government House Leader, AMO, and Ontario municipalities. Any discussion? All in favor then? That's carried. Moved by Councillor Keith, second by Councillor Ashford, that bylaw number 2026-7574 being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a transfer payment agreement with His Majesty the King and the right of Ontario as represented by the Minister of the Solicitor General for diesel exhaust removal from the apparatus bay in the fire hall be considered as read a first time. All in favor? Carried. All members in favor of having the second and third readings, and that's carried. Moved by Councillor Keith and seconded by Councillor Ashford that the bylaw above mentioned be considered as read a second and third time, passed, signed, and sealed. Any discussion? Councillor McCann?
So, Mr. Thompson, I had asked you a couple of meetings ago about the money that was coming forward, and this was a project that you were looking forward to. Just to refresh the public's mind, and you're talking about the fire hall. Were there any other buildings or complexes within your realm that were also going to have the same technology installed, or was it just simply the fire hall?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, this is the fire services grant. It only is for utilization within the fire services industry.
Thank you.
Any further? All in favor? That's carried. Now, that was the agreement. Now we have a resolution with regard to doing it. Moved by Councillor Ashford, second by Councillor Keith, that council of the town of Parry Sound direct staff to move forward with the diesel exhaust removal system at the fire hall utilizing the 2026 fire services grant and existing funds previously approved and unspent from 2025 capital budget for the fire hall ready room to a maximum project value of $60,000. Any discussion? All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Boleski, seconded by Councillor Ashford, that bylaw number 2026-7575 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council be considered as read a first time. All in favor? That's carried. All members in favor of having the second and third readings? Carried. Moved by Councillor Boleski, seconded by Councillor Ashford, that the bylaw above mentioned be considered as read a second and third time, passed, signed, and sealed. All in favor? And that's carried. So prior to adjourning, I'd like to offer the following information to the public regarding the next council meeting. The next meeting of council for the town of Parry Sound scheduled for Tuesday, February 17th, 2026 at 7 p.m. The meeting will be held at the town of Parry Sound Council Chambers at 52 Seguin Street, entrance via Gibson Street, and will be live streamed and recorded. All regular council meetings are held at 7 p.m. on the first and third Tuesday of each month, except January and August, where only one regular meeting is scheduled. Council meeting schedule, notices of special council meetings, complete agendas and minutes, and instructions on accessing live streamed and recorded council meetings are all posted on the town's website. Go to www.parrysound.ca, use the search bar. Thank you, everyone, and have a good night.